It is my honor to welcome our panelists for the first session, or the speakers who are going to address the audience this morning. I would like first to call upon Mr. Fulgence Saint-Guillaume, Minister of State in charge of Agriculture in the Ministry of Agriculture and Mineral Resources, for his welcome remarks.
Honorable ministers here present, Commissioner of the African Union Commission in charge of Agriculture and Rural Development, Director General of FAO, distinguished guests, youth champions in agriculture from all corners of Africa, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It is our great pleasure to welcome you all here in Rwanda for this Continental Youth Conference in Agriculture. We are here for 2 days to discuss youth employment in agriculture. As the solid solution to ending hunger and poverty in Africa, to see how we can engage the youth through information and communication technologies and entrepreneurship. Please feel at home and enjoy the beautiful weather in Rwanda. Before I conclude, let's recognize high-level delegation from across the continent here present. Please join to welcome Honorable Minister from Sierra Leone, Honorable Minister from Lesotho, Honorable Minister from Sudan, Honorable Minister from South Sudan, Excellence Ministre provenant du Congo-Brazzaville, Honorable Minister from Namibia, Honorable Minister from Guinea, Honorable Minister from Ghana, Director General of FAO, Director General of UNIDO, Director General of World Meteorology, the Vice President of IFAD, Deputy Secretary General of ESC, Minister from Angola, apologies, President of AGRA, I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Good morning, every one of you. Bonjour à tous. Bon dia à todos. Honorable Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency José Graziano da Silva, Director General of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Director General, Excellency Lee Young, Director General of United Nations Industrial Development Organization, other ministers here present and senior government officials, members of the diplomatic corps, senior executive from the private sector, the Youth Association, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Please allow me to convey sincere greetings from His Excellency Musa Faki Mohammed, the chairperson of African Union Commission, who would love to be here in view of the importance which the African Union Commission attaches to youth employment, but other pressing official engagement could not make it possible for him to be here with us this morning. It is a privilege and honor for me to attend this very important youth conference being held in this beautiful city of Kigali, the Green City. I commend the government and the people of the Republic of Rwanda for hosting this timely conference, which is being organized by a tripartite initiative of the African Union Commission, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and the government of Rwanda. The conference could not have been held in a better place than Rwanda, considering the giant innovation taking place in the area of ICT in the country. Drones are now routinely deployed to deliver vaccine and medicine to hospitals in rural areas, coupled with the fact that His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, is the current chairperson of the African Union. The theme, Youth Employment in Agriculture as a Solid Solution to Ending Hunger and Poverty in Africa, engaging through information and communication technology and entrepreneurship, is a very German to the realization of the 6 aspirations of the African Agenda 2063, which envisions an African whose development is purpose-driven, relying on the potential of the African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for the children. Africa has the youngest population in the world. There were 226 million people aged between 15 and 24 in 2015, about 19% of the global total. And this figure is expected to double by 2045. Despite youth becoming better educated over time, youth unemployment has become a major albatross in several countries with devastating consequences. We may recall that it is fueled with Arab Spring that countries in North Africa are yet to recover from. Youth unemployment is also the prime cause of the deadly migration of African youth to Europe through the Mediterranean. African Union Commission, recognizing that the youth is Africa's greatest asset and cognizant to the role they could play in shaping the future in this continent, has initiated and implemented youth-centric policy in the line with its 2017 annual theme of harnessing the demographic dividends through investing in youth. The Commission has established a youth division in the Department of Human Resources, Science and Technology. For the third year running, the Commission has been operating the AU Youth Volunteer Program that trains youth in various areas of expertise and places them in its various departments, directorate, and affiliated technical organizations. Excellencies, distinguished participants. Coming to agriculture sector, which is my trough, experience has shown that majority of youth do not want to work in the core agriculture sector because they consider agriculture as either not rewarding or sexy enough. Luckily, all this is changing. As many of you in this room could attest to, but we need to scale up success stories. There are also immense opportunity in ICT and agricultural value chain. Our focus for the next 2 days, the agricultural sector, with its reasonably wide value chain, presents a great opportunity for employment creation for young people and empowering them towards making the desired difference in the realization of African Agenda 2063, the economic development blueprint for Africa. Today, most of the recent innovation in information, communication, and technology is done by the youth. Adopting ICT contributes to ease the doing business and for employment creation. For the youth agripreneurs applying ICT, the benefits are enormous. They obtain best market information, keep records, find crop in high demand, get information on pest and disease control, gain access to new farming practices and agricultural technology. I wish to underscore that we at the African Union Commission are prepared to walk the talk and facilitate the realization of the commitment of the 2014 Malabo Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation for Shared Prosperity and Improved Livelihoods. Indeed, the Malabo Declaration, which launched the second phase of CADEP in June 2014, has stressed that, therefore, this conference is not only a welcome move, but also a laudable action towards the realization of the AU Malabo goals and targets. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we need to double our efforts and join hands to mobilize more resources for youth in agriculture and agribusiness. For employment creation, we need to see a proliferation of youth and enterprises along the agriculture, animal production, and fishery value chain. We need to see more youth involved in green energy, climate-smart agriculture production, applying technology and science. We need indeed to harness the potential of ICT as a supporting and catalytic instrument for job creation for youth in agriculture. Indeed, the targets of creating jobs for at least 30% of the youth in agricultural value chain require high-level commitment and leadership drive at national, subnational, and community level. Allocating resources for meeting these targets promises high dividends. The youth, if equipped with knowledge and adequate skill and funding, can easily translate our vision of realizing a sustainable agriculture sector growth, ending poverty, improving livelihood, and ensuring prosperity. In this light, I encourage our African government to consider adopting a minimum of 3 strategies. The first of these strategies is to establish appropriate funding facility for funding the youth in agribusiness. I am aware that some of our member states, including Rwanda, have already done this and are reaping the benefit of this policy. Second, there is the need to establish and support youth skill development institutions through agricultural technical education and vocational training in agribusiness at national and subnational level. Third is to ensure youth participation in policy dialogue, platform, and create space for experience changing. That's what we are doing here today. Lesson learning, and mutual accountability for youth practitioners and their direct supporting institution. I look forward for the outcome of this meeting. I solidly stand behind our African youth and other stakeholders who will come up with bold initiatives to invest in ICT, in agribusiness, and agro-industry for more employment opportunity. With this, I thank you for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup pour votre attention. Muito obrigado pela vossa atenção. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Ms. Commissioner. I think the call for action is well set by the AU Commissioner, and I think the line and the ways to actually implement and go forward after those discussions has been well outlined as well. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Lee Yong, the Director General of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, for his remarks as well.
Excellencies, Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture and Rural Economy, my dear friends, Director General of FAO, and also honorable ministers presented, and also my dear colleagues from international organizations here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a very special privilege and a great pleasure for me to speak today at this conference on youth employment in agriculture as a solid solution to ending hunger and poverty in Africa. I just would like to extend a gratitude to the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources of the Republic of Rwanda, to the African Union, and to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations for organizing this event, for the invitation to participate, to meet all the people here. The United Nations Industrial Development Organization welcomes this conference, a timely topic, youth in agriculture. I believe that the African continent has significant untapped potential, both in terms of the young human capital and the natural resources. We come together to find feasible ways to influence policy reforms and to boost the youth engagement and interest in agriculture. In this effort, we could see that continent's commitment towards the 2030 Development Agenda for Sustainable Development, and also its Sustainable Development Goals, and which anchored in the principle of the leaving no one behind. I really would like to mention that agriculture is very closely connected to industry. To think about the agriculture sector and also industrial development, there's enormous room in between for the employment, for job creation, for entrepreneurship. I will elaborate a little bit later on. I also would like to mention the IDDA 3, Third Industrial Development Decade for Africa. The UN General Assembly approved this resolution in 2016, and especially to support this continent 2063 agenda, Africa We Want, which covers agriculture and industrial development. And I would like to mention one set of numbers you may also know, which is important. In 2015, by the Africa Economic Outlook, Africa was home to 226 million young people. This number will be increased by 42% in 2030, which means almost close to double of the youth number, which is very encouraging, but at the same time, big challenge for all of us, because young people need a job, need to have a family, need to have a good life, but fundamentally is we need to provide a job for those young people. But this is a big challenge which need our concerted efforts. And I believe that one of the phenomena now happened is that growing young labor force need support, need to let them see the agriculture as a profitable opportunity and consider it rather as a subsistence farming. Such a view have been exacerbated by the sector's low productivity, primarily due to the low investment, low quality inputs, and the low adoption of innovative and improved production technologies, which is an area for us to work together to promote, to support young people. This is a very big challenge of the age-specific vulnerabilities and the underdevelopment of the rural areas. This has increased the youth susceptibility to urban-rural migration, as some people explain it. However, Your Excellencies, colleagues, the picture is not all bleak, not that kind of negative, passive. I believe that Africa harbors significant untapped reservoir of the opportunities for its youth, particularly in the rural area. With the increasing local and regional demand for food, the scope of the potential integration of youth in agriculture service is vast and unexplored. And agro-food industries, especially in the areas of food processing, are labor-intensive and can create jobs in the rural areas, as well as respond to the urgent needs of the ensuring food security, at the same time, food safety. Colleagues, friends, food safety is also very important. This will require a transformation of food system and adoption of innovative technologies that can present gainful opportunities for manufacturing and the processing industry. One modernized agriculture sector can present opportunity for young women, men in agriculture-based entrepreneurship or agripreneurship. For this to happen, we require the investment that will bring about the technology transfer to drive modernization, and the ICTs, especially digital infrastructure, to bridge the critical knowledge gap and enhance the connectivity. Here I really would like to emphasize the connectivity. If you are connected, and you will be connected to market, value chain, job creation. But one of the important features is digitalization. And that is one of the topics this conference will focus on. I really would like to introduce one of the example. I actually once met with one governor of the province in China. He came to visit me and also told me that e-commerce, digitalization really helped the job creation. And this province produced very good wheat flour, #1 in China. But they sell the package of the wheat flour packed very nicely. But when people buy the wheat flour, they need to prepare the food. But in the local community, village, old lady, can cook very good pancake, local specialties. But without connectivity, and she only can cook for family, and maybe a gift for relatives. But one day, this old lady thought about why not I create a pancake, put it on a website, maybe some people would like to buy. And she started with this try. Very fortunately, the order from local province, and she started expansion of the cooking pancake. And later on, the orders from whole country, and she worked together with a few ladies, and later on becomes small company and expansion the production of the pancake. What's behind that? Because ICT, digitalization, website, maybe partially we can call it e-commerce. And this is very common in China, in the countryside, the rural areas. You can produce something with local specialties, put on the website, and then receiving order from whole country. Even now, it's outside the boundary of China. So it's impressed me a lot. Think about that. UNIDO should be involved in this process. That is why I really congratulate our host of this important conference, focusing on the youth employment and in agriculture sector, and also connected to the ICT, which is an important area for UNIDO to contribute to our African countries to support African industrialization, their 2030 development agenda. Also, we need to ensure that productivity gains from the technological innovation and automation in the agriculture sector are enjoyed equally by all, and that demographic dividend presented by the youth board becomes a reality. In some areas, this may require ensuring basic broadband coverage to facilitate use of mobile technologies and equipping youth with relevant skills to participate in the digital economy. It's not somewhere far away. It's really in front of us. I appreciate the leadership of President of this country as a co-chair of the Broadband Committee. I participated in one of event. This is important for this continent based on AFCFTA to be signed, rectified very soon, which will provide a basis and the environment for this continent to extend the trade, agro-industries, agriculture development for youth, and create entrepreneurship. I would like to mention another operation, trade capacity building operation of UNIDO, because it connects to the agriculture, because least developed country, 2/3 of them located in Africa, all focus, because majorly agrarian. But start from agriculture, there's food processing, as we mentioned. We hear from Commissioner, and also you understand, food processing industry is enormous possibility for job creation for youth. But UNIDO, from 40 years operation on trade capacity building in 80 countries, almost through the 4,000 operations, for what? For food safety standards, for the metrology centers, create measurement, and for the accreditation services, and to issue the certificate for the entrepreneurs, meet the standards, and also the quality infrastructure. We named this as a brand called Quality Infrastructure, which is so important for the companies to enter into value chain, into the international market. Two examples. One is when I visit Ghana, I visit industrial park, one company called Niche Cocoa. Maybe you heard of that. They produce from the cocoa bean, used to be exported by raw material, into 3 products. You know that: cocoa butter, cocoa cake, cocoa oil. And firstly, they produce that they cannot sell in the international market. UNIDO supported this company with a laboratory, with equipment, international standards, and one technician produce the certificate, the quality and the ingredients of the product, and their products connected to Asia market, connected to European market. And this is a very dynamic operation. Another example, I visit Pakistan. Pakistan is a country with a vast, big volume of the fruits, and tangerines, mangoes, and so on. The mangoes, they boasted #1 in the world, but they cannot sell the mango to European market, to some other international market. Value was very low, and they request UNIDO to support them and financed by the European Union. And the project is really to create the accreditations, quality assurance. Their mango being appeared in UK market. It appeared in UK market means whole European countries will be accessible. Many of the good examples, I do not want to occupy too much of your time, but it means that agriculture industry are very closely connected. And as underlined by Third Industrial Development Decade for Africa, IDDA 3, the Agenda 2063, industrialization remains the top priority for African continent. UNIDO is committed to support the African continent in achieving this goal. The topics to be highlighted at this conference, I'm very much appreciate. This is a good opportunity for me to present the cooperation between agriculture and industry. Based on its long-standing experience, policy advice, and technical assistance, UNIDO seeks to realize opportunities generated through the industrialization, giving the momentum it triggers to modernization through innovation, improvement of livelihood through its income generation effects. In this context, the SME development and entrepreneurship in manufacturing industries and their related services have proven to be key driver for job creation and increase the socio-economic prosperity. Agri-food industry, including food processing related services, among the priority areas for UNIDO. That is one area I mentioned. And now we currently support Ethiopia to develop a quality infrastructure for meat processing. And think about how many population of the cattle in Ethiopia. And such a big population, look at the export number of the meat from the husbandry sector. Very small number, very, very small number. And one of the issues is the quality infrastructure. And now we are working together on that. Also, we are fully cognizant of the critical importance of strengthening the entrepreneurship ecosystem and fostering entrepreneur capacity of young women and men. Youth-led enterprises in strategic industries with a high growth and job creation potential can be critical drivers of the economic growth, bring about a social impact, particularly through the peer-to-peer support they provide. For example, we also have the PCP programs we call Program for Country Partnership in Ethiopia, Senegal, national entrepreneurship strategy being formulated together with government development institutions, and also strategy aimed at supporting inclusive, sustainable national development by focusing on the growth-oriented enterprises, building a nurturing entrepreneurial ecosystem to increase self-employment opportunity, particularly for youth and women. UNIDO adopts an integrated approach to promote entrepreneurship led by young women and men by addressing the policy dimensions and by supporting young entrepreneurs in gaining access to finance, service, and market. In Senegal, colleague friends, we have supported efforts that have led to more than 1,100 youth being oriented towards enterprise orientation, creation, among which more than 170 business plans were formulated and financed, creating the estimated 400 jobs. This is a starting point. In Tunisia, UNIDO has partnered with USAID and HP Life to generate sustainable employment opportunities for 10,000 beneficiaries with a large focus on youth. And by improving entrepreneurship services and providing direct assistance to enterprises in agricultural, environmental sectors, among others. In Mali, colleagues, friends, UNIDO has implemented innovation and development and entrepreneurship for all programs in partnership with UNDP as part of the United Nations Peacekeeping Fund, which trained more than 600 young people on entrepreneurship and business plan development to facilitate their employment in local companies. Furthermore, I would like to introduce you, and we have assisted several African countries, Angola, Cape Verde, Mozambique, Namibia, Rwanda, Uganda, in introducing practical entrepreneurship curriculum in schools and promote entrepreneurship culture. This we call, in short, as ECP, entrepreneurship curricular program being embedded into schools, technical schools and university programs, curriculums. And students, young people, while receiving the education, formal education, they also could attend those curriculums and which will feed them into their mind the entrepreneurship to start with business efforts. We have very traditional program, lasted decades for this kind of programs. We will strengthen this while we're focusing on the youth employment, especially young people and the women. And colleagues, we think this is a good opportunity for us to refocus on the employment issue, youth employment issue, and the women employment issue, as based on agriculture and also connect to the industry, industrialization, and in between, we can explore many, many opportunities. I think this important conference really gives us a good opportunity to discuss, to share, to explore the opportunity to move ahead with this important topic. Let me conclude, colleagues, friends, by commending the efforts of African leaders in pushing forward a development agenda for the continent. UNIDO stands ready to support, to work together with our development partners to create opportunities that will appeal to Africa's increasing young population. In this regard, we look forward to join hands to sow the seed for inclusive, sustainable industrial development and unearth the opportunities for youth that lie in Africa's agriculture sector, and those are the potential for Africa economic development. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Thank you very much, and especially for highlighting the linkages between agriculture and industry in the context of the structural transformation that the continent is longing for. Now, without further ado, I would like to call José Graciano da Silva, the Director General of Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, for his remarks.
Before I start, let me ask you all to join me in a minute of silence for Kofi Annan. Thank you. His Excellency Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources of Rwanda, His Excellency Joseph Asaku, African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, Mr. Lee Young, DG of UNIDO, Mr. Piteri Talas, as Secretary General of World Meteorological Organization, Mr. Paul Winters, IFAD Vice President, Ms. Agnes Kalibata, President of AGRA, Regional Director of ILO, Cynthia Samuel, ministers present from Angola, Sierra Leone, Lesotho, South Sudan, Congo Republic, and Namibia, members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for FAO to co-organize this conference together with the African Union and the government of Rwanda. I would like to especially welcome our partners and dear friends, the DG of UNIDO, Lee Young, and the Secretary General of WMO, Petri Talas, and the Vice President of IFAD, Paul Winters. I know that you have made a great efforts to be present here today with us. It is of utmost importance to discuss the great potential and the critical role of Africa's youth for sustainable development. This is recognized by key political documents such as the Malabo Declaration and the African Union's Agenda 2063. As you all know, Africa is the youngest continent in the world. In the sub-Saharan region, 60% of the population are below the age of 25. We are talking about 1.2 billion young Africans. By 2015, the number of people aged below 24 years is expected to double in this continent. Nowadays, high levels of youth unemployment and underemployment impede the region's ability to reap dividend from its youth population. According to ILO, working poverty rates among youth in sub-Saharan Africa reached 70% in 2016. According to the World Bank, about 10 to 12 million new jobs per year need to be created until 2035 to incorporate the new entrants into the labor force market. Unfortunately, we only provide 1/3 of that number. So it's not a surprise that 2 out of 3 youth that try to enter in the labor market don't find an opportunity in this continent. And it's not a surprise also that they try to migrate. Ladies and gentlemen, food demand in Africa is projected to grow more than 50% in the coming year. But it's well known that youth people seeking to gain a decent livelihood from agriculture face innumerable constraints. They are usually employed on a casual seasonal basis with limited access to education, technical training, finance, information, and markets, and also very low involvement in decision-making process. These constraints become a bottleneck that also impede youth people to start their own business. As a result, there are no other opportunity than migrate. They go first to urban areas or move abroad to seek employment opportunities. 1/3 of all international migrants from developing countries are between 12 and 24 years of age. So we need to take action to make agriculture and other sectors more attractive. They must perceive agriculture as a remunerative and profitable sector. The dissemination of information and communication technologies can play an important role in this regard, as we will try to show in this conference. ICTs leverage the capacity of youth people to innovate and launch new business. In fact, ICTs help to connect farmers to markets, reduce cost transitions, mitigate risks, and raise food systems inclusion. They also open new opportunities for technical training in remote rural areas. In the coming years, more and more of the agricultural activities will require digital skills. So we have to build the capacity of farmers and youth professionals to manage modern technology, especially ICTs. For that, it's very important to organize, especially family farmers, into cooperatives and other forms of association. This is the best way to provide young professionals and technical assistants capacity building and access to modern technology. It's virtually impossible to give individually assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to draw your attention to the need to not rely only on traditional agricultural sectors for creation of employment. We also need to think beyond the farm. We have to explore all aspects and stages linked to agri-food value chain, as said by Li Yang just a minute ago. The increasing demand for high-value products in urban areas offers multiple employment opportunities in processing, distribution, marketing, and retailing of food products. To tap the potential of agri-food value chain in terms of job creation, we need to promote a new kind of rural transformation. We need to virtually urbanize rural areas and small villages. This means equipping them with basic service such as education, health, electricity, internet access, and so on, that are available in the big cities. These services are themselves another important source of employment, especially for women and youth. Excellencies, dear friends, FAO is ready to continue and further strengthen its activity to support countries in realize the potential of agriculture and food system to create more jobs opportunity for youth. We can help countries to develop and implement legal and regulatory frameworks and service for youth inclusion. We can provide assistance and training to youth people in terms of financial literacy, business development, and management. We can promote the uptake of innovative digital finance solutions. We can facilitate the development of implementation of risk-sharing mechanisms to promote a more conducive investment climate for youth. FAO is working in several countries in Africa. I will not mention all our activities, but would like to highlight the work we are doing in Nigeria, promoting Nigerian youth employment in agriculture, also in Senegal, Rwanda, and many other countries in West Africa. This conference offers a great opportunity for us to jointly think ways to scale up our collaboration toward the creation of better futures for rural youth. Let us try hard to adopt concrete solutions and actions to move forward. We have to bear in mind that sustainable development in Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, can only be achieved if decent employment opportunities are created for youth. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Director General. Now, without further ado, I would like to call upon our guest of honor, who's representing the government of Rwanda, Honorable Geraldine Mukeshimana, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources.
Your Excellency Josepha Sako, African Union Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, Honorable Ministers here present, Your Excellency Jose da Silva, Director General for FAO, Mr. Lee Young, Director General of UNIDO, our good friend, the coordinator for one UN family here in Rwanda, representative of diplomatic corps, youth representatives, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. First of all, I want to start by conveying the greetings of His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, who had wished to be here with us, but due to other pressing engagement couldn't make it. On his behalf, I wish to welcome you all to this important conference, whose theme is Youth in Agriculture as a solid solution to ending hunger and poverty in Africa, engaging through ICT and entrepreneurship. I want to thank you all for making it and be here with us today. This high-level event aims to foster exchange among stakeholders on knowledge and best practices regarding the interfaces between agriculture, youth employment, entrepreneurship, and ICT innovations. The main outcome of this two-day event is to boost youth engagement and interest in agriculture in order to create a solid foundation towards eradicating poverty through decent youth employment, which is an integral part of the agenda of wealth creation and shared prosperity in Africa, consistent with the African Union Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals. In Africa, agriculture accounts for 32% of the GDP and thus creates 65% of jobs. This means that developing the continental economies requires development in the agriculture sector as well. In fact, according to IFPRI, growth in agriculture is 2 to 3 times more effective at reducing poverty than an equivalent amount of growth generated in other sectors. That is said, but we know that Africa is endowed with all ingredients needed for moving fast from potential to real economic transformation. We all know that over the half of global arable land is in Africa. We all know that 70% of African citizens are under 30 years old. However, almost 5 million of Africans. They graduate every year and do not get jobs. And the recent World Employment Social Outlook reports that 7.9% of unemployment rates is in Africa this year. Therefore, there is a clear indication that if everything is done well, there is untapped reservoir of youth employment opportunities in agriculture. Our presence here reflects that stakeholders across the continent and beyond place a great importance in agriculture as an avenue to provide youth employment. It is not a secret. We all know that many young people do not venture into agriculture because they find it as an attractive form of employment. Sustainable solutions for decent youth employment in agriculture must therefore address their intertwined issues of making agriculture attractive to youth while maximizing the financial returns. This could be achieved through harnessing opportunities from entrepreneurships and ICT solutions. According to the World Bank, agribusiness and the logistics sector in Africa are set to mobilize about $1 trillion by 2030. It is therefore crucial to empower the youth to take active parts and benefit from such great opportunities. In Rwanda, the government supports youth in agriculture through various ways, including capacity building, organization, and financing. We are happy to note that the beginning active involvement of youth in agricultural value chains. The Youth in Agribusiness Forum, which is having members around 4,300, was established in 2016. The Horticulture in Reality Cooperative and the Rwanda Animal Resource Cooperatives were also created mainly by graduates of universities. And these are setting the way to increase the farm productivity, but also to add value to agricultural commodities. A continental framework was created to enable transformation of the agriculture sector and for empowering youth to actively participate and benefit from emerging opportunities. The Malabo Declaration, adopted by Africa heads of state and governments in June 2014, pursues an inclusive agricultural growth and transformation process toward ambitious poverty reduction targets. The resulting commitment in Malabo Declaration is expected to halve poverty by 2025 through inclusive agricultural growth and transformation and boosting intra-Africa trade of agricultural commodities and services. This continental commitment will generate job opportunities for youth in various agricultural value chains. Our pressing responsibility today is therefore to support and facilitate preferential entry point and participation of youth in gainful and attractive agribusiness opportunities. In Rwandan context, the recently launched strategic plan for agriculture transformation in its fourth phase will actively promote skill development and incentives for agriculture entrepreneurship with emphasis on youth. Job creation is a very high priority in our national strategy for transformation. To the young people in the room, I guess this is your first time to be with, in the same room with these great leaders discussing your role in agriculture and economic transformation of our continent. These people are here because they believe in you. They believe that you are smart, you are skilled, you are hardworking, and you are capable to do the real business in agriculture and lead Africa to the zero hunger that we wish. I urge you to seize this opportunity to interact with them, ask the hardest questions that you have, and tell them the best way you wish to be supported to end hunger in Africa. That said, before I conclude, I would like to thank organizers of this conference. Particularly, I want to thank the FAO, a special thank to the DG. We worked together for almost a year to make this happen. I really thank his commitment for taking time to come to Rwanda and make this a reality. I also want to thank African Union, IFAD, Africa Development Bank, Smart Africa, the MasterCard Foundation, and Technical Center for Agriculture and Rural Cooperation for the active participation in organizing this event in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources of Rwanda. Again, on behalf of our president, we thank you for coming to Rwanda, and on his behalf, I declare this conference officially opened. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And on this, the conference is officially opened. I would like to thank you very much for giving us, setting the scene for the 2 days of conversation that we'll be having in this conference. And would like to invite you to come back to the seats as we're going to welcome the next, the panelists for the next session. I would like to call upon my next panelists and also the technical team to help us with the setting here in front. The next session will be speaking to some of the critical issues that were highlighted during the opening speeches, and especially the challenges and opportunities mainly that the youth can leverage through ICTs in agribusiness and to become agripreneurs. We have heard that, one, the youth is very critical, not because of their numbers, but also because they have the strength and the capacity and the potential to actually drive some of the key critical development issues that the continent has. We have talked about the zero hunger, we've talked about food reliance, but also development of the continent through industrial development, structural transformation, and seizing the opportunities of the African continental free trade area. For my next session, which is going to be called Entrepreneurship and ICT Innovations in Agri-Food Systems, I will call upon 5 panelists Thank you very much. And this indeed is a good opportunity to shape and carve the future of work as we would want it to be. Yes, even if we're talking about ICT in the meeting, it doesn't mean that we cannot have technical issues. Apologies for that. I would like to welcome my panelists for the next session. Honorable Jean de Rurangirwa, Minister of Information, Technology and Communications, MyTech. You're welcome. I would like to call upon Estherine Fotabong, who is the Director of PICD at NEPAD. Is she in the room? I would also like to call upon Dr. Agnès Karibata, who's the President of the Alliance for Green Revolution Africa, AGRA. You're much welcome. With a round of applause. It's also my honor to welcome Dr. Charles Agwanda, Center for Agriculture and Bioscience International, CABI, and also Mr. Antonio Correa do Prado, the Deputy Director of the Social Policies and Rural Institutions, FAO. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As we set up with our panelists, a little background maybe on the conversation, but also on the format. So we have been privileged to have the scene set by the high-level guests that we had in the first session. And I think the scene is set, but now what needs to be done is not only to discuss and exchange and see where opportunities have been, and that maybe some of the opportunities that we have not been tapping into, but also and especially provide the platform for the youth to express themselves and to share what are the opportunities and challenges that they see from their side and from their experience, and enable an actual conversation. I think the minister has said it very well. It's a great opportunity for young people to be in the room with decision makers, policy makers, and those that actually are taking the decisions today that might shape what is going to happen to them tomorrow in the next 5-10 years. So it's a great opportunity for the young people and for everyone in the room. So I would like this session to be interactive, and that's why I'm going to call upon my dear panelists to really give, probably for the introductory remarks, very, very clear and concise points so that we enable to take questions and interaction from the floor. And as we are a little bit behind on the timing, that will enable us to have and enjoy this conversation as we, at the same time, be mindful of the timing and of the program. So without further ado, as I think the set has been well seen, but we have heard that 15 to 24 years old in sub-Saharan Africa, 12 to 14% of that category of age in sub-Saharan Africa is unemployed. And it's even higher if we consider underemployment, that probably consists of 70% of the category or in general. So we have heard about the challenges that they face, but also the opportunities that the agricultural sector is offering. And as we're talking about food security and ensuring that we are taking advantage of the large arable land that is on the continent, I would like to call upon the Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization, Peter Talis, to give us a very short introductory statement about how do we also are mindful of climate change and make sure that we incorporate those questions as we discuss. You are much welcome. Thank you.
So, dear ministers of Rwanda and other African countries, dear colleagues from FAO and UNIDO, so before giving my talk, I would like to express my deepest condolences for the African people for the passing away of Kofi Annan. And this was a great loss for the UN community, and it was also a great loss for African community. I was happy to host his 80th anniversary at the WMO headquarters in Geneva in May, and he was attending our executive council just in June in very good shape. So this was a great loss for all of us. I would like to congratulate the organizers of this event for choosing the theme. I think that you have chosen a very good theme thanks to FAO, Government of Rwanda and African Union. Agriculture is the backbone of employment and economy of many African countries, and it's also a matter of life and death in the worst case. And as my colleague from ILO said, the growth of population and the impacts of climate change, they are going to hit Africa, and there are major challenges for Africa for this century. And I also think of the young people as a father of 5 children, so the future of them should be as bright as our future has been, and we have some challenges ahead. So this doesn't work, so could I get the next one? So I'm coming from WMO, which is the UN specialized agency on weather, climate and water, and we are coordinating the work of 200,000 national experts dealing with weather services, climate science and water resource management. And here in Rwanda, we have the National Met Service, which is providing services for various sectors. We are also dealing with climate science. We are hosting the IPCC at WMO. We are dealing with the world climate. We are dealing with disasters, various services, water resource services. They are one of the major issues for us. And we are fathers of big data. These ICT applications and big data, they have been our business for already for decades. We have a major challenge. We have about 100 countries that don't have proper services, and we have to both find resources for this capacity development, and we also have to convince the governments to allocate the proper resources for that. And investments in early warning services, that's a good investment for the governments. You typically get the money back tenfold once you invest in those services. And climate disasters and water resources, they are also major issues in the implementation of sustainable development goals. Most of the SDGs are somehow related to weather, climate and water. And that's why we are working together with several other UN agencies. FAO is our very good partner, and we are working together in climate services, early warning services, and also hydrological services. We have several. Now it's going too fast. Could you go backwards? And so we have plenty of partners in the UN system with whom we are working together, and we are giving this climate, weather and water expertise for those players. And the issues that we are dealing with today, they are also recognized by the economic community. The World Economic Forum had its meeting this January in Davos, and they recognized that the natural disasters, failure in climate adaptation, food security, and water issues, they are major threats also for the global economy this year. We have seen an increase in the amount of disasters. This is a graph showing the amount of global disasters, and there has been a major increase in the amount of storms, flooding, and also in some parts of the world, drought. I will come back to that the next slide, please. And if you look at the global map, how well the various countries are able to adapt to climate change and disasters, you can see this map, and the red colors indicate areas where the early warning services are not proper, and the disasters are hitting the countries the most. And you can see that Africa has very red continent besides some parts of southern Asia. So there's a challenge to enhance the services and also adapt to climate change and disasters. Next, please. What do we know about climate change? We have started hitting records year by year, and so far the warmest year was 2016, and it's possible that this year, 2018, will be the warmest year on record. We have seen severe heat waves hitting various parts of northern hemisphere in Asia, Europe, North America, and they have had negative impacts on agricultural productivity. Next, please. And if you look at the map, what has happened to precipitation during the past century, you can see that we have seen a decline of rainfall, especially in Africa, some parts of Asia, and increase of rainfall mostly at the high latitude sites. Next, please. And IMF has estimated what kind of impact the current 1 degree warming has had on global economy, and the red colors indicate negative impact and green colors indicate positive impact. So we have seen more rainfall and higher temperatures at the high northern latitudes with the positive impact on economies, but if you look at the southern hemisphere and Africa, it's red, and it has already been a negative impact on the economies of African countries and southern hemisphere in general. And one of the challenges that we are facing today is that we are changing the composition of the atmosphere. We have broken 400 ppm level of carbon dioxide, which is the highest concentration in 800,000 years, and same is happening with methane and also N2O. Next, please. And if you look at what may happen by the end of this century, here are two seasons, summer and winter season for temperature. We expect to see up to 5 degrees warming over the continental areas by the end of this century if we fail in climate mitigation, and very high changes in the high northern latitudes. Next, please. And the thing that is going to hit the countries even more than the temperature changes are the changes in precipitation patterns, and here the brown colors indicate negative impact on rainfall amounts, and the green colors indicate increase of rainfall. And we expect to see negative impact hitting areas which are very critical for agricultural productivity. That's very much Africa, especially northern and southern part of central part of Africa, and many areas which are important for global agricultural productivity. Next, please. And here is an estimation what may happen if we reach 3 degree warming, which is very likely to happen. That's according to the pledges of Paris Agreement given by the countries. And here the red colors indicate the decline of crop yields in 3 degrees warmed climate. And you can see that most part of the planet is red, which means that we have a big risk to lose our agricultural productivity because of especially these rainfall changes and higher temperatures. And our challenge as a mankind is to reverse our energy consumption system during the coming 30 years. The lifetime of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is tens of thousands of years, and we have a 30-year window to change our behavior. And at the moment we are producing 85% of our energy based on coal, oil and gas, and only 15% based on nuclear, hydro and renewables. And we must change this picture in the coming 30 years. And while thinking of agriculture, my conclusions are that climate change is already a threat for agriculture, but we can mitigate that risk by providing better early warning and climate services, and we have areas of the planet which are most sensitive to those changes. And finally, I would like to show some positive examples what we can do by issuing early warning and agricultural services. Here's a case from India, where we have been able to enhance the agricultural productivity from 10 to 30% by issuing these 3 to 7 day forecasts that the local farmers have started using. And we have similar examples also from various African countries. Next, please. And we are carrying out training and capacity building programs in various countries, and especially Africa is a target area for us, and the results have been fairly positive, and we are partly working together with FAO in that respect. Next, please. And we have organized plenty of seminars. We continue to do so, and it's important to educate the farmers to use the services that the National Met Services are providing. Next, please. And we have some examples from various countries. Here are some, here's an event in Mali. Next, please. This is from Nigeria. Next, please. And we have organized more than 400 seminars in 17 countries during the last couple of years, and this practice will also continue. Next, please. And the results of these seminars have been seen as positive numbers in agricultural productivity in various sectors, and you can see fairly nice numbers as a follow-up of those events. Next, please. And we have established a World Agricultural Information Service system where we have several countries participating, and that's helping countries to improve their issues, and one of the issues is soil moisture that we are dealing with. Next, please. And here's a long list of countries. I don't go through those here. Next, please. And as an example from nearby country, we have also created a new service for fishermen. It's about 5,000 fishermen who are losing their lives every year by weather events, and by issuing new mobile phone-based services, we have been able to enhance we have been able to avoid human losses related to the weather events. Next, please. Next. And you can get warnings to your mobile phone, and the results have been very positive, and similar things can be done also for farmers. We can issue mobile phone-based services for farmers. Next, please. Next. And you can use also fairly simple things, this kind of traffic light system to illustrate the information in a simple form. Next, please. So with these words, thanks for the invitation to attend this important event, and we have a common challenge ahead of us. We have to adapt to climate change, and you can do it by issuing better climate and water services, and we can also reach very good results by working together with the governments and also organizations like FAO. At the WMO, we are placed in Geneva, and we have created a new machine. We have joined our forces with the banking sector of Switzerland. We have created a machine where you can put money in, and we can change the weather. So please start investing in that machine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Please have a seat on the panel. I think this gives us a lot of resources and information and knowledge to tap into as we start the discussion. And I would like to start with Honorable Rurandirwa. The Honorable Minister has talked about the Smart Rwanda Master Plan that has been developed in order to include and mainstream ICTs in all development sectors and transform the country through ICTs. And one of the key pillar is agriculture. Now, we've talked about agriculture not being really attractive enough for the young people. I'm very happy to mention that the Ministry of Youth and the Ministry of ICT were once one, which speaks volume on the importance and the linkages between youth and ICT. Now, how, from your perspective and from the perspective of the Smart Rwanda Master Plan, do we create room for young people to get into agriculture through ICT innovations?
Yeah. Thank you, moderator. Yes, Smart Rwanda Master Plan identified agriculture as one of the key pillars for our ICT development. And that actually consider the importance of agriculture in the structure of our economy and the importance of youth employment as well. With the implementation of Smart Rwanda Master Plan, every sector came up with a specific strategy. We are having now ICT for agriculture strategy that put an emphasis on supporting entrepreneurship and using ICT. And we are lucky in Rwanda to have infrastructure that really enable ICT development in various sectors. As we talk, the mobile penetration is about around 80% coverage. We've now more than 90% of our population covered with 4G LTE. It's really high quality of infrastructure that would enable ICT to develop. Through the strategy again and the various initiatives, we have seen a number of competitions being organized, such as hackathons, to generate agriculture mobile applications. And so far, we have a number of applications being used in supporting the agriculture value chain, Isoko to connect farmers to market, to track prices. We also have information, agriculture information, management information system that provide all stakeholders of agriculture information to improve the quality. And we are seeing even new technology being used in agriculture. Now we have one local drone operator, Caris UAS, providing services in agriculture, like mapping soil, crop monitoring, pest control, and so on. Those are really applications that are only feasible with the current state of infrastructure and policies and capacity that is being created. Again, I would look at opportunities being created in ICT for agriculture. In one of those hackathons, we are seeing now people using the Internet of Things and sensors to collect agriculture information. Again, that creates a lot of opportunity for young innovators. The data being collected need to be analyzed, and the data is useful only if really analyzed and put to the right use. This is also another opportunity to create future data scientists that will feed information that at the end will increase the agricultural productivity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I would like to call upon you, Dr. Kalibata, former Minister of Agriculture and Mineral Resources of Rwanda, but current President of AGRA. I think when we talk about agriculture today, we're talking about a very different thing than agriculture in the past 20, 50 years. I think the young people that would like to go into agribusiness are actually inheriting an agriculture that is in movement and that is less stable than what our parents and grandparents had. So what would be your take on how the young people here can better leverage on the opportunities while also taking into consideration those new developments, the need to be climate smart, so to speak?
Thank you. And I think that's really a great point to start at. I guess one of the challenges we've had when we talk about engaging youth in agriculture, we always want to model agriculture as the difficult part of going out there, get a hoe, do business. I want to look at agriculture differently. I want to look at agriculture as the industry that is going to be $1 trillion in less than 10 years, which is what the agricultural sector in Africa is, a $1 trillion industry. So when we talk to young people, we need to talk to them from that perspective, the opportunity perspective. And there are a number of areas. The other opportunity that I don't want us to miss is what the minister has just been talking about, the penetration, the mobile penetration today, which is huge. Something we wouldn't have been able to talk about 30 years ago is now, in some countries, 95% penetration on this continent. When we talk about broadband penetration, same thing. When we talk about internet penetration, in Rwanda alone, I think 40% minister of the people have access to internet. In Kenya, 34 million people have access to internet. So all these are opportunities that present new ways of doing business and that we need to focus young people on. But for me, the most critical is Africa is the fastest urbanizing continent. All these people need food. All these people don't have backyard gardens like we had when we were growing up. Our parents had backyard gardens. So FAO has been tracking these things and has been telling us that Africa is actually urbanizing faster than any other continent. So if this is then going to be the case, where are these people going to get food from? What are going to be the new ways of feeding these people that we need to worry about? And I wanted to bring out just a few areas that we care about from where I'm sitting that are going to be very critical. We need to really think about the enabling environment that is going to be very critical to create businesses in agriculture, but also to engage young people in agriculture. There's now this whole talk around big data, but also new ways of collecting data. And we must worry about ways of analyzing data so that it becomes available and consumable. Just having huge amounts of data that are not consumable is not extremely helpful. So it's going to have to be analyzed. And it's already beginning to happen from a climate perspective. The other day, I was really thrilled to talk to someone who is already ensuring drought, ensuring price volatility in agriculture, but also ensuring fall armyworm. So these are all new things, especially the fall armyworm, and drought is becoming more severe. But the fact that people are using data now to be able to even they are going to those fields and be able to insure them is something that really is beginning to create businesses in interesting ways. I wanted to bring out something in addition to availability of data. Financing. We need to think of alternative ways of finding financial mechanisms for youth. A lot of youth don't have land the way we look at financial inclusion these days. In Africa, every time we talk about financial inclusion, we talk about land, we talk about property. Youth don't have these things. They have their brains and their passion. And we need to think of ways of harnessing their brains and their passion to really get them to access financing. And the way they use their mobile phone to pay their mobile debts, the way they interact with the rest of us, and the way they interact with banks is one of the things we can build on, and that opportunity is becoming real. The way we build business models and opportunities for business and how we actually encourage those businesses to come out. I'll give you an example. AGRA is now partnering with CTA, and at every AGRF, or Africa Green Revolution Forum, which is happening here in a few weeks, we have a whole day dedicated to hackathon. And the ideas that come out of that will also be profiled so that they can start getting funded. So AGRA is also partnering with MasterCard Foundation, who I've seen here, to really look at ways of, good ideas, great ideas that reach agriculture in new ways. We have things like e-granary that we are partnering with banks and businesses. We have things like Hero Tractor. All ideas that have come from young people that are finding funding opportunities through funding from MasterCard Foundation, that we could grow. How do we get all these ideas and help grow them? I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is how we think about getting business. How do you create value around smallholder farmers in their environments? And here I think about it the way Rwanda actually thinks about land consolidation. How do we consolidate ideas and opportunities at the village level so that whoever wants to access and provide services to farming communities and work with them actually knows where they are at a click of a button, knows where land is, knows where a market is, knows where all these things are at a click of a button. So they're all new ways of doing business that we can look at, and we have good opportunities to partner with people who can do these businesses. Startup Nation is going to be here from Israel, is going to be here at AGRF, really showing us how they've become probably one of the leading innovators in IT and one of the youngest population in terms of how they engage with IT. They have huge businesses in IT. All of them, a significant portion of them, not all of them, a significant portion of them focus on agriculture. So there are opportunities that we can build on.
Thank you very much. And what you're saying is really echoing what the Minister of Youth was saying yesterday, that the youth doesn't necessarily have the capital or land as a collateral to access to loans, for example, but they have ideas, and those are the ones that we need to tap into. And I'm hoping that probably we're going to give the floor, give it to the floor so that they also bring upon the panelists some of the key questions to have. But the question that you were talking about also on funding comes back to what the AUC was saying about the three key strategies that need to be done: the funding, the skills development, and the youth participation. I would like to bring in the FAO deputy, the deputy director of social policies and rural institutions. I think some of the questions that we're saying here are also talking to the question of having an environment, a framework, a conducive environment that will enable young people to thrive, and especially in terms of funding, especially also in terms of how do we develop their skills. So from your perspective and on the continent, what are the key probably initiatives that need to be probably fostered or accelerated for young people to actually access those funding opportunities and access the skills that they need to actually have successful businesses?
Thank you very much for the question. Well, first of all, I would like to address why youth employment is so crucial. Because when we study poverty reduction, we see that we have two big factors that can reduce poverty. One is social expenditures, social policies. And the other one is the dynamics of the labor market. So we are addressing here employment, and specifically youth employment, because youth employment is a mean to reduce poverty when poverty today is the SDG number 1. So this is very, very crucial. And it's also very crucial to reduce hunger, as we see here, working for hunger, for zero hunger. You were saying about the opportunities. We see that we have a lot of difficulties for youth to prosper in employment and also in entrepreneurship. So one thing, of course, is financing. Youth has very big difficulties to access financing. So it's very important to find ways to make youth to access financing. Without capital, it's very difficult to accumulate over nothing. So it's absolutely necessary to have a original capital to foster youth to produce. But we need also to remember, I was talking about social policies and public policies. I would like to give you a number that we have. When we compare the participation of agriculture in the budget as a whole in this continent with Asia, for example, you will see that here it's 4% on average of the budget of the governments. And in Asia, it is 14%. So we need to think that it's necessary to finance directly youth employment, but also to have the means, to have the resources in the ministries of agriculture to enhance the necessary policies to give youth access to employment.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to call upon the representative from Kabi, Dr. Agwanda, about skills development. I think young people have ideas, and sometimes what keeps them from actually implementing it is the basic and very needed skills of business management, for example, and how to forecast production, etc., etc. And those require information, but also skills. So would you like to talk to that question? How do we ensure that young people have the information they need in order to actually be able to have those companies and have their businesses and startups after the 2-year or 1-year period after which many of those startups will end up dying?
Thank you. I think to really address the issue of skills, there are a number of steps which are important. The first one is an understanding of the level of skills we have, and in particular knowing that we have a very variable population of the youth. The youth in the rural areas are very different. Their requirements and their abilities in terms of skills are very different from those which are within the cities or within the vicinity of the cities. And in terms of what is it that we need to do, one of the critical things is change, the ability to ensure that our institutions, which are responsible for developing skills, actually are moving in line with changes in agriculture and the requirements of the modern agriculture. I do have in mind a situation where we need to readdress particularly institutions responsible for agriculture. We need to readdress the issue of the curricula. The old curricula need to be updated in line with the current circumstances, and that should not necessarily be limited to universities and colleges, but we need to do this all the way from the primary education levels. 2, with the skills, we also need to address the key ingredient for business development by the youth. That is the issue of access to relevant information, access to relevant, and also information which is validated and information which is very country-specific, so that what the youth use or what the youth target to develop their businesses in are in line with their country's requirements. And lastly, I would want to look at a situation where we develop skills and which respond to the current or emerging challenges in agriculture. This is in terms of skills in production. So I have in mind what has already been mentioned, that is making production more precise, and in this sense, making investment in agriculture respond to the actual requirements of the environment. For instance, when we look at the mapping, the digital mapping, which was mentioned earlier, and the use of soil probes, for example, we would have a situation where the youth would have better control of their investment in production for crops, for example. Skills which allow them to be more proactive to problems in agriculture, particularly in terms of those who may choose to look at extension, for example, as a source of employment. I think we need to, again, use or leverage on modern technologies. It was already mentioned the issue of Earth observation. We use modern technologies which combine Earth observation and also biological systems to help such youth develop skills in predicting challenges associated to pests and diseases of crops, for example. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think our panelists are actually bringing about a number of questions and follow-up questions that could be tapped into, but obviously those will be addressed in the next sessions, and especially, for example, the question of innovative financing. We have now crowdfundings and an online platform that actually enable some of those projects to be financed, but also the different constraints that young people or everyone would face when they get into agriculture and agribusiness, especially in terms of the standard quality and also the transportation of those products, etc.